I was just thinking about just how hyperactive and overstimulated society is. I feel like it's so important that in today's digital era that you do everything that you can to guard your ear gate, because we are being bombarded with so much information, just so much content, that I feel like it can make you feel really clouded in your own thoughts. And one thing that I have learned, especially over the last year, is the importance of solitude, the importance of silence, the importance of allowing yourself to hear God. And I think this is where, like, when a lot of people talk about meditation and journaling, I think those also play a really key role in hearing that voice and having that understanding, because you being in a place where you are quiet enough, you're still enough, you're open to receiving information, you will find yourself breaking down your situation and analyzing things and even coming to conclusions in a better way than if you're constantly just taking in information and now you're just left in confusion. And y'all know they say God is not the author of confusion. And one thing that I've noticed, especially when it comes to just, like I said, the digital age that we live in, being on social media, anytime you're talking about things, whether you're talking out loud, you're talking to a friend, or whatever the case is, or even if you're searching something up, that algorithm and your data is being, they doing some things behind the scenes where you are being fed back the information that you are speaking of or that you are searching for. Like, say if I watch a video on a particular topic, I would have used that just as a source to kind of gain some understanding of things. But I've noticed that, like, when I'm in my solitude, I can literally come to a conclusion about something. But for some reason, the more that I think about it, or the more that I even allow outside opinion in, and this goes for people who are constantly seeking outside opinions, once you are taking in too many different voices, you will now find yourself in a space where you are now confused. You are now clouded, because it's almost like, damn, like I heard my voice if you allowed yourself to, but you heard your voice, but it's also backed by so many other voices that it's like, okay, I can see this perspective, I can see that perspective, I can see that perspective. But I've noticed when you allow yourself the time to really sit down, meditate, allow yourself to process what you're thinking, but also acknowledging that everything that you're thinking isn't a valid thought. It may be valid in terms of your feelings, but one thing that I have to stress is that not every thought that you come across is worth expanding upon. It's not worth, of course, I feel like you should acknowledge things. Like they say, feel whatever you're feeling, think whatever you're thinking, and process it, and kind of get an idea of, okay, like, what makes more sense in your particular situation, versus you seeking so many different outside opinion that you are now so clouded to the point where you don't even know what's what. But because you have so many outside opinions clouding your judgment, you will now find yourself in a position where you don't really know how to handle something because of all those voices. There's too much confusion. But the most important thing really is to allow yourself to be calm, be still, and really think about what you're feeling, feel what you're feeling, and just meditate on things without being so anxious to receive outside opinion, because you giving yourself that time to really just analyze the situation, and of course not hyper analyze it, because I feel like that also can cause more confusion when you come to a conclusion, then you're like, oh wait, but this and but that, which is a good thing to be a person to see things from multiple perspectives. But there also comes a time where you have to kind of be, like, I guess, not rigid in your thought process. Like, you have to have a certain level of trust within yourself in order to, I feel like, really trust the guidance that you're getting. And I also feel like when it comes to just like media, the constant bombardment of content, they won't just necessarily, I feel like, show you one type of what you're specifically looking for. They will tell you so many different perspectives to where you're like, damn, like now I'm confused. And I think that's something that people have to really be mindful of. It's okay to get opinions, but I realize, especially when it comes online, like there's so many different nuances to situations where you can't just paint a situation with one brush, when in reality things have so many different layers to consider versus just a generic something that you're getting online. It's so important to guard your ear gates because people saying things to you, like, words are power, and if a person says the wrong thing to you, that can literally plant a seed in your mind that can grow so big, when it's like, had you not had that seed planted, it would not have grown because it's not something that should have been planted in the first place. It's kind of like equivalent to the whole thing of if you're a kid and your parent tells you you're doing really great and you're doing great in school and think, you know, they positively affirm you. You as a kid will take that, and that seed will grow typically to a kid that's confident in themselves, believe that they can do things, know that they have the support system, versus, say for example, if it's a kid where your parent is constantly telling you you're dumb, you can't do anything, you never do anything right. That kid is going to grow up with a certain level of, I feel like, self-doubt, just guilt, shame, feeling like they're not able to do anything. And you know, like, that definitely does plant two different outcomes because one is positive and one is negative. So that example further explains my point of be mindful of who you're allowing to speak to you, what you're allowing yourself to take in, the type of information that you're allowing to take in. You have to consider, like, is this advice coming from a toxic person or is it coming from a healthy minded person? Like, are there any biases? Do they fully understand your situation? Like, there are so many different things that you have to really be mindful of when it comes to receiving information, because not every information that you receive is worth you taking in and allowing that seed to grow. Or another example, let's say if you have a test to take or you're on a sports team, if you have positive self-affirmation and self-talk, and you have also people outside of yourself just validating you and motivating you, you will likely find yourself in an uplifting mood where you feel like, okay, I can do this, I got this. So it's like you're prepared to do good because you in your mind are already like, I got this. So at that point, because the self-perception of the situation is positive, you are likely to do positive. But if you are talking to yourself saying, oh, I'm not gonna do good, I'm gonna fail, this is bad, and you got other people saying how difficult it's gonna be and how, you know, like, you're not gonna pass it, you're not gonna do well, all those negative seeds are being planted to where now, even if you know it or not, you're subconsciously internalizing that. So now when it comes time to taking the test, you might find yourself being really doubtful of yourself, feeling like you're not going to be able to do it. Or even, say, before getting to that point of taking the test, few days before, you might feel like, oh, well, I'm gonna try to study, but it's not even gonna be worth it because I'm not gonna do good. And it's like, if you're in that mindset of failing before even doing well, you're going to find yourself in a position where that is going to negatively affect you, and you might get the outcome that you're looking for. So I think a lot of what I'm trying to say is just limiting outside noise, knowing what information to take in and what information not to take in, knowing what's reality and what's not reality, knowing how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. You get what I'm saying? Of course, like, you can get advice from people who have experienced things before you, but at the end of the day, nobody knows your situation like you know your situation. And one thing about it, I'm never going to tell anyone to not get advice from other people, because I'm not gonna lie, in my life there are a lot of things that I feel like I avoided, or a lot of moves that I ended up making because of me paying attention to other people's lives and getting advice from other people, and, you know, being open to collecting information. So I'm not saying don't take information if it does not apply to your current life and you know that the decisions that you're making is for your betterment. That's not what I'm talking about. But one thing that I have noticed, when I prioritize silence, solitude, meditating, journaling, and I allow myself to really just sit with myself to process what I'm thinking without any outside noise, without anybody inserting information that might not even apply, but because it sounds like, oh, this fits, I'm now taking that and riding with it. And it's like, no. The best, most sound advice that I feel like I have gotten, especially as I learned to trust myself, is trusting what God is putting in my head. You know, the more confidence I have built within myself, the more that I have learned to trust myself, because I've learned to show up for myself. And I'm not perfect, right? You know, I'm gonna fall short sometimes, but the more that I have learned to, I would say, on a general level of having trust within myself and my decision making, I trust that when God tells me something, when God puts something on my heart, when God, you know, like put something in my thoughts, because at the end of the day, like I see it as God is a spirit and we are spiritual beings having a human experience in our physical body. So the same way my spirit is operating inside of my physical 3D vessel, God is also operating within me, because we all have God within us. And that intuition, that little voice that you hear, that is God speaking through you. But it's like, are you allowing yourself the time to be quiet enough to hear that voice and trust that voice and know that you are being guided? And it's not to say that you're only going to get internal voices of wisdom, because I get internal voices, but I also can receive information from outside, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is getting to a space where, yes, people oftentimes rely on what we can receive outside of us, but a lot of times the answers and the things that we are looking for is truly within us. But are you allowing yourself the space, the time, the silence to really hear that and to really expand upon that and to really understand that and not brush it away, even if it feels uncomfortable? And one thing that I've learned about humans, we oftentimes with a lot of things have been taught to seek for things outside of ourselves, when it's just like everything that you need has been equipped to you from birth. When God decided, you know what, I'm going to allow you to enter this earth, you don't need things outside of yourself in order to feel that connection. God operates through people, and people who don't allow God to operate through them oftentimes got other things operating through them, but that's not for this video topic. But what I'm trying to say is God wants to communicate with you, but are you allowing yourself that space to hear God? So quiet out the outside noise and allow yourself to fully tap into that God within you, the God outside of you, but mostly the God within you, because God is literally within all of us. You just have to give and allow the space for that spirit to flow through you. So this is going to be a short video, but I'm gonna just end this here. And I don't know, I just felt like this was a message that I just wanted to share, because the thought literally came to my mind a few minutes ago when I was scrolling through my YouTube feed. Like, why am I getting so much content about a particular topic when it's like I only looked at one video and now I'm getting like 50 million different videos on the topic from different perspectives, and it's just like I don't need all of this, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, like, when it comes to these social media algorithms, and this is all very new, you have to be really mindful about just information that you're taking in. And it's not just social media in itself, it's also just in general in life, whether it's in person or whatever. Just be mindful of the information that you're taking in. Not everything is worth processing to the point where you are like believing it to be true when it's not. So I'm gonna just end this video here. I hope this message helps someone. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in another one. Bye.